Ladies, welcome to another thrilling Aviation Women panel. It's the 22nd already. We started this journey 8 July 2020, and it's a big honor for me to be the host and moderator of Ladies Beyond Flighting monthly Aviation Women panel. My name is Daniel Stecher, Vice President Airline Operations, IBS Software, and it's a big honor to have today somebody from the northern region of Europe, from Iceland. And it's all about playing. So it will be interesting to see what Raquel is showing us, what Play Air is doing in terms of sustainability in aviation. So Raquel, stage is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniel. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today. It's quite a long time since me and Daniel spoke about me giving this presentation. I think even like 4 or 5 months. So many things have evolved since then, and just a super brief introduction. So I just joined Play in November last year, and I have never worked in the aviation industry before, so I'm like brand new in the industry, which is both really good. I think it's really positive thing to see with a fresh perspective, but then again also a little bit limiting. But I mean, you just need to be a fast learner, and hopefully I am. But this the past 6 months have been really interesting, and this industry is definitely exciting. So I completely understand when I've heard so many times that people say to me, yes, now you're in the industry and you will never leave. you just become hooked. And I'm starting to understand that now. So yes, and related to that I only be part of the industry for 6 months, so bear with me if I am not using the right lingo. I am learning, guys, so bear with me, and feel free to laugh or send a comment in chat or something like that.
But that brings me the first question: Is it do you sense it is an advantage or is it an disadvantage to have not this background? Is it an opportunity or is it rather a challenge?
It's both. It's definitely both, and it's hard to say which one is more disadvantage or advantage, because I think bringing perspective and knowledge and competence from other industry is also really good for the aviation industry. But at the same time, I might be able to implement something that I want to implement faster if I would have the knowledge and the experience beforehand, coming from a different department or other areas within the aviation industry. It's just pros and cons. So yes, so what we wanted, or what I wanted to discuss with you today, and what we decided to talk about a few months ago is the net zero in the aviation industry, and if it's possible for low-cost airlines to set drastic goals and take drastic steps towards net zero. But for the last few days, I've been, of course, thinking about this presentation and how to structure it and what I really wanted to share with you. So I am going to talk about net zero, but I'm also going to talk about a few other things, but related to sustainability. Because net zero is just one part of sustainability, and we need to look at the whole perspective. We need to look at it with a holistic view, because there's also topics within the sustainability that is equally important as net zero. So I also wanted to talk about that. So just a few slides, if I can. Yeah, few slides about Play. We are located in Iceland, or yes, we are an Icelandic company, and And at Play, our primary goal is to make flying affordable for everyone with easygoing and enjoyable customer experience. We put a lot of focus on digital experience, and that has actually gone really, really well. And I'm really proud of the digital team at Play. So Play was founded in 2019 with a team of people that worked at another airline company, called Vauer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Vauer, but they are of course not up and running anymore. And our first flight was in June last year, so we are almost 1 year old in terms of operations. So this has been a really exciting year, the past 12 months, and we have accomplished, or the team has accomplished, amazing things. In 2022, we will operate 26 destinations in Europe and the US, and we just for a few weeks ago started our US flights, which was really, really, really important for us for the business model. And we only operate the Airbus Neo family, and we are actually really proud of only operating those types of aircraft. And I mean, that's maybe obvious because of the low fuel consumption, and then it becomes, of course, it pollutes much less than older aircraft, and also the fact that our passengers can be sure that when they are flying with Play, they are in a new aircraft with a low emission. Because sometimes when you're flying with a legacy airline, you have no idea which aircraft you're flying with, and you have nothing to say about that. So, but you don't have to worry about when you're flying with us. We only operate the A320 family. And we have actually tried to talk about this with our passenger, because this is, for example, one point that I bring, because I'm new in the industry. I didn't have any idea about the difference between the aircraft. So we try as much as we can to explain to our customers why this is, explain to our passengers why this is important. Okay, so to the topic of our discussion today, net zero and getting the claims right. What are we claiming? Are we claiming net zero, carbon neutrality? I guess that you have probably seen many companies disclose both that they are setting net zero goals or setting carbon neutral goals, and what does it mean? So I wanted to take you through, so if you are familiar with this, just bear with me, but it's really, really, really important that people understand the difference between net zero and carbon neutral. So I'm just going to take you through this slide. So when companies are setting net zero goal, they are committing on deep emission cuts for all the scopes, scope 1, 2, and 3. Scope 1 and 2 are our direct emissions, and scope 3 are our indirect emissions. And in the airline industry, the biggest scope is scope 1. And this is also the case in other polluting industries, but in general company, the scope 1 is the lowest and scope 3 is the biggest scope. So scope 1 is the jet fuel. So to set the net zero goal, according to science-based targets, company needs to reduce the total value chain emissions by 90 to 95% by 2050. That's also why we see the year 2050 so often. But at the same time, they need to set a short-term target in decreasing their carbon emission by 50% emissions by 2030. And if you think about it, 2030 is it's not many years until it's 2030. So after reaching the 90 to 95% reduction, companies then should neutralize all the residual emissions by compensating and buying carbon removal credits. So you hear that after all this process, this will take many years. After companies have reduced by 90 to 95% of their carbon emissions, then they can offset and buy carbon credits with carbon removals to finalize the 10 to 5% that's left. And only then companies can make the claim that they are net zero. Before that, then they are not telling the whole truth. And if companies are setting science-based targets, they need to disclose on scope 1, 2, and 3. So that's also really important. And that's why I put, in the headline that transparency is the key. So it's really important when you're reading reports or claims by companies that you understand if they are setting net zero goal, that they are setting it by science-based targets, and if it's not by science-based target, according to science-based targets, then it's important to understand if they are taking the full scope, scope 1, 2, and 3. Recently, I think I have the right information. American Airlines is the only airline that has that the science-based target has approved their commitment to set a net zero goal. But in total, I think it's around 16 to 20 airlines in the world that have committed to set science-based targets. And actually, the Science-Based Target Initiative only created this framework for the aviation industry in August 2021. So it's brand new. So it's not strange that only 16 to 20 airlines have committed to a science-based target. Going through a science-based target is complicated. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes investment. But of course, airlines it will pay off for airlines to set those targets. Because if you choose to set science-based targets, you're also showing the market that you are going through a really thorough process in decarbonizing your emissions. And this is, of course, a patient work. And then setting a carbon neutral goal is when companies, it doesn't matter at what time, which year, companies can claim that they're carbon neutral if they compensate for the full emissions of their business. But at the same time, transparency is a key. It's really important that is the company talking about scope 1, 2, and 3? Is it a company just talking about 1 and 2? And also, of course, it depends on the industry. So if you see an airline that says we are carbon neutral and we have compensated our emissions for scope 1 and 2, that's actually, quite good, because the largest share of the scope is in scope 1, and scope 3 is the scope which is really hard to calculate or to measure. I'm not going into more details than this, related to measuring the scopes. I assume that you are at least have some understanding about that. And also, I mean, companies can say that they are carbon neutral with buying any type of carbon credits. Again, it's really important that you understand and you know if those credits are verified by a third party, verified and registered. So you know that those carbon credits are from a reliable project that have additionality, that you know that if those investments from those carbon credits would not be happening, would not be in place, this project would not be up and running. But what's good with carbon neutral goals is that companies are then taking actions today. And when I talk about today, I'm talking about, in the near term future, because we really, every single company needs to take actions today to minimize their carbon emissions and remove and compensate for their emissions. We need to start doing it today. We can't wait. But it's the best approach is if you see a company that is doing maybe both of net zero and carbon neutral, they're doing a deep emission cut, going through a really strict framework in cutting the emissions and compensating for the CO2. But while I'm saying this, of course, it's just super difficult for the airline industry. And we just need to be honest about that. And maybe especially airlines in Europe, because we need to comply with the ETS system, and the credits in the ETS system has the price of those credits have increased tremendously. So in 2019, they were around 20-25 euros, and now they are trading around 90 to 100 euros, one ETS credit. So you can imagine that's a lot of cost. And the ETS system is, of course, an incentive approach from the EU to encourage polluting industries to lower emissions. So, and then again, of course, the price of jet fuel that I don't need to spend any words about. We are all familiar with that. So if you take the jet fuel price, and if you're an airline in the EU, you need to comply with the ETS system. That's a lot of cost as well. And so with the ETS system, you are paying for every single ton of your emissions. So we are already paying for every single ton of our emissions through the ETS system. And if we add then to buy carbon credits on top of this, it's just a lot of cost. It's just so this is a difficult discussion and difficult decisions to make if airlines should start buying carbon credits on the voluntary market. There are a few airlines that are already doing that, and for example, EasyJet, they offset all their flights themselves, which I find pretty amazing. And I've read on the website that last year they bought or retired 2.1 million credits, carbon credits. And I mean, let's say the average price of credit is €8. That's around then 16.8 million euros that they paid for their credits. Approximately, this is just, I mean, giving you approximate cost of this. But of course, also in the airline industry, sustainable aviation fuel will play a huge role in for airlines to really make a difference. And so that's also what we need to think about in this when we are talking about net zero and carbon neutral and buying carbon credits or not. Because airlines can also make a huge contribution by investing in sustainable aviation fuel. So, I mean, these are two approaches, and I assume that airlines will rather choose setting net zero targets than going on with carbon neutral claims or goals, due to the fact that they can start today to do a deep emission cut and setting targets that, I mean, because there's limited what we can do in 1 year, but we can do, you know, much in few years, and while we see the increase of supply of sustainable aviation fuel, and then we will of course see increase in demand of sustainable aviation fuel. And at least I am super excited for being able to I'm at least super excited for the development of supply of sustainable aviation fuel, and I'm positive that will play a huge role for us in the industry to make our flights a little bit greener. But of course, it takes a lot of investments, and today it's around 3 to 9 times more expensive than jet fuel. So there's a lot to think about in this field, and I don't think it matters if it's a legacy airline or a low-cost airline. Both types of airlines really need to decide on what they should do. Need to decide on what are they going to do. Are they going to claim net zero goal or carbon neutral goal? And of course, we are talking about, you know, dates in 2040, 2050. That's far away. So we have some time, but we need to start today. Every single airline needs to start today, because this takes time, this takes investments, and this takes also new approaches in processes and decision making. But now yes, I'm looking at the time to see if I still have time. What I wanted to also talk about and share with you, that it's really important as well to look at the whole picture, not only setting net zero goals, because that's part of a sustainability goal and part of sustainability journey of a company, of an airline. So we are taking the approach towards net positive. And what we mean by that is we seek to be able to answer this question in a positive way. How do we make sure the world is better off because play is in it? Okay, what does that mean? I mean, many people might think that, you know, this is this is not this question does not make sense for a company to make, but what we mean by that and how are we making sure the world is better off because play is in it, we focus on those 4 things. We take responsibility for our impact. We focus on long-term value and vision. We seek to know all our stakeholders and meet their requirements. and we embrace collaboration and transformative change beyond our company. So taking responsibility for impact, that's, for example, our climate impact. Focusing on long-term value and vision, setting those targets and those goals related to climate, but at the same time, a long-term value and vision related to our employees, our impact in the community we operate in, for example. And then to seek to know all our stakeholders. All airlines have different types of many stakeholders, customers, our employees, our investors, suppliers, etc. So it's really important to understand every single stakeholder's need and talk to them and give them information about what they need. And then we embrace collaboration and transformative changes. I mean, this is also really hugely important for airlines to embrace collaboration with, for example, companies that are producing sustainable aviation, innovative companies that are producing different types of aircraft, for example, using hydrogen. How can we embrace collaboration with these types of corporations that are bringing transformative changes to the industry? How can we support those companies? Yes, so we believe that focusing on those 4 things, we really can make the world a better off. And this is like, I hope you see that this is how we look at the big picture of sustainability. And so we also built our sustainability strategy from those 4 points I've discussed with you on an earlier slide. And I'm not going to go deep into this, but because we really want to, by this strategy, we really want to focus on the whole approach of sustainability, and that we can really, with the strategy, we can make sure the world is better off because we are in it. And I want to highlight that this is our first sustainability strategy, and this will most definitely be totally different in maybe not totally different, but it will definitely change a little bit after we evolve and our business gets bigger and just our experience and what we can implement and what we will implement evolves. But we divided in those five pillars and align it with Sustainable Development Goals, and we are quite proud of this strategy. And I mean, like I said in the beginning, I started in November, and this was the first task to create a strategy, just a sustainability strategy. But this is not something that I made up. This is something that we created from results from materiality assessment that we conducted with all our employees and our 60 biggest shareholders to get feedback from those really important stakeholders on what they think are the most important sustainability topics that Play should focus on. And these are the results. And linked to the sustainability strategy, we have KPIs, which are all measurable, of course, and timed, otherwise it would not be KPI. And And we have divided them in environmental factors, social, and governance. And this is also part of, we talk about ESG, but we focus on talking about sustainability. Again, to see the whole, to have a whole perspective and to give a holistic view. Because we were focusing on the net zero, I want to maybe spend focus more on the climate actions and circularity. So these are environmental KPIs. On a journey, we are on a journey towards carbon neutral operations, circular thinking in all our operations, and responsible procurement. And here you see that we have set the goal of becoming on a journey towards carbon neutral operations. And you might ask yourself, why did they decide to do that? We decided to do that because we have only been in operations for now almost a year, but when we created this, we had only been in operations for around 8-9 months. And it was just too early to set a science-based target. So setting a carbon neutral target is much more accessible, and that we can focus now in short term. Like you see, we are setting targets for 2025, and that's only in 3 years. So after that, we will set new targets. And on a journey towards carbon neutral, we are focusing on the sustainable aviation fuel, SAF. We are really following what's happening on the market and trying to create partnerships with SAF producers and being able to implement SAF into our operations sooner than the EU law requires. We are looking into a carbon offsetting strategy. We have not decided yet how we are going to approach that, but we are also focusing and looking into that market and create the competence and knowledge in the market to be able to take good decisions related to that. And then again, we have measured our carbon footprint according to the greenhouse gas protocol, just to create the baseline. So now we have the baseline, and now we need to understand, okay, where can we minimize and decrease our emissions? Where to focus? Where can we have today impact? Where can we have impact today? So that's what we are looking at now. And by doing this, we are preparing us and preparing the business to take next drastic steps, being it starting to offset ourselves or setting a science-based target towards reaching net zero goal. And what's really important for us is the transparency and to be, telling the full story, not just the half story. And it's always focusing all the scope 1, 2, and 3. To be honest in our process of decreasing our emissions and setting those goals. And then circularity in the airline industry is a complicated task. At least here in Iceland, we can't recycle the waste from on board. It needs to be burned. So we are kind of limited there, but what we can do is decide on the packaging of the food that we sell on board. What type of packaging are we using? Because that can have a huge impact. So this is just this is from our annual and sustainability report that we just disclosed in the beginning of April, and we are also really proud of that we managed to disclose a very detailed and thorough report on our sustainability goals and actions and strategy and KPIs and and our carbon accounting. And we had the scope 1 and scope 2 assured by Verifavia, a third-party verification company. Okay, so I've been talking about the environment and our climate impact, which is of course related to the topic of this talk. But like I said in the beginning, I really also wanted to talk to you about other sustainability topics, to have this holistic sustainability view. And we are putting a lot of emphasis on our social KPIs because our employees, they, without our super good and competent and highly intelligent employees, Play would not be there. We will not be up and running. So we are focusing on taking good care of our employees. And these are our social KPIs. And this is, again, part of it, how we make sure the world is better off because Play is in it. So I hope you understand that this is, I hope I have made it clear that this is all linked. So we are setting safe, supportive and playful culture, equal pay and opportunities, create a positive impact with partnerships in our destinations, and raise awareness regarding sustainability in the aviation industry. So, I mean, for example, point 3 and 4, that's another field than focusing on our employees. But this is just us at Play taking responsibility of our impact and using the power, if we can use the word power, on the market, and to inform and raise awareness on sustainability and why it's important and why companies that are focusing on sustainability should be rewarded. So related to our employees, we are very proud that we received an equal pay certificate in 2021, and we will make sure to hold that certificate in coming years. We have an equal gender ratio in the management team, and it has been priority from day one, and we will, like it says here, that won't change. So when we talk about diverse and inclusive workforce, we need to make sure that all our employees understand what does it mean. What does it mean that we are diverse and inclusive? What type of company are we creating? What type of culture are we creating if we say that we want to be that we are diverse and inclusive? So for every single employee to understand that and to be able to participate in that and impacting that, we will take all our employees through training about diversity and inclusion. Maybe just one more point which I'm really excited about is partnerships and collaboration with companies in the not in the aviation industry perspective especially, but within the tourist industry. How can we create partnerships and collaboration in the tourist industry with companies that are focusing on sustainability, that are setting clear goals on their climate impact, on their social issues and governance? So goals that are both measurable and timed. So we are really excited to, how can we create these partnerships so we can provide information to our customers, our passengers, that when you're flying, for example, to Iceland, you can make sure when you're enjoying your time here in Iceland, you can choose the right companies. You can choose the companies that are taking actions in terms of sustainability. My time is running up. I just want to go briefly through the governance, our governance KPIs, because they are also linked to how we make sure the world is better off. But maybe just one more point that I forgot to mention is, one thing that emphasize that we are really taking good care of our employees, and our employees are the most important, is that when they were designing the uniforms, they were really designed for the job. Because being a crew member, it's a tough job. You're on your feet for many hours. So the uniform needs to be comfortable and good to work in. So like you see, this is our uniform. All of it's designed with a unisex and comfy in mind, and everyone is wearing sneakers. And this has actually got a lot of attention, which I find great, because that's exactly what we wanted. And our employees, our crew members, are very happy with their uniform. And especially that maybe crew members that have experience in working in different type of uniforms, they really say that there's a huge difference. Okay, so just for the last few minutes on the governance, we're setting code of conduct both for employees and our suppliers, responsible labor practices, responsible data security and policy, and climate change risk and risk management. Sorry. And so with with the code of conduct, we are, if we discuss first the supplier code of conduct, now we have created the supplier code of conduct, written it down. It has been agreed by the board of Play. And now the next step for us is to reach out to all our suppliers and go through the supplier code of conduct and ask them to sign it. So, and that's actually gonna be a really interesting process, and I'm really looking forward to those conversations, because I believe that we will have many really good conversations with our suppliers about what they are doing, and about how we can work together on both of our sustainability journeys. So I'm really looking forward to those conversations and take that on the next step. I want to be responsible of time. So this is just, I want to have those, this is my final slide, that at Play enables people to travel and discover the world in a responsible way, so we can, for the foreseeable future, continue to experience what the world has to offer. And I believe probably, I mean, is this unique for Play? Is this what all airlines want to do? And I hope so. And so we can, I mean, we still want to, and we want to continue experience what the world has to offer. We want to continue seeing our friends and family all around the world, understanding and learning and feeling new culture, experiencing new things, seeing all the beautiful, nature that the world has to offer. So, but we need to do something. We need to take action so we are able to do this in the foreseeable future. And I hope we will see many airlines taking actions, and at least I am quite positive that we will see many airlines taking, setting high goals for the future, because, I mean, this is just good business. For those airlines that wants to be up and running, and in 5-10 years they need to take drastic steps. Otherwise, at least I believe, they will not be in business anymore, because passengers are always setting higher and higher standard and requests on the airlines. So yes, thank you. If there are any questions, Daniel, do we take questions, or how do we approach this?
I'm exactly asking this. First of all, thank you very much for this amazing presentation. Maybe you stop screen sharing, because then we see you in a large picture. A fantastic presentation, a lot of insights and knowledge about this very vocal topic. And I think exactly what we are showing, the difference between carbon neutral and net zero, I think that's key to understand. We were talking in Reykjavik last time about it. Maybe you don't need to mention your friendly industry colleagues, but do you have some examples also from the industry where you say, okay, other airlines are doing this and they're innovative in this way? Unfortunately, they're maybe not talking about that. You like to share that maybe we have a bigger awareness what other airlines are also trying to do in order to be more sustainable.
Yes, actually, there are a lot of airlines that are doing an excellent job and really exciting stuff. For example, I mean, just in general, all airlines that are putting investments into sustainable aviation production, I find them really, that's a huge kudos to those, because it is a huge investment. It is more expensive. But those airlines that are buying sustainable aviation fuel more than they need to, and either investing in producing sustainable aviation fuel, they are really setting high goals and setting high standards. Maybe EasyJet, I think they are doing an excellent job. I think I mentioned it earlier that they are, I think they are only European airline that are compensating for all their emissions. So they're, I think that's great, and they are actually doing it with verified and registered carbon credits. And you can, if you go online on EasyJet, you can look up all those credits. So I find them doing an excellent job, for example. So it's really it's actually great to follow all those airlines and to learn from each other and to share, what's going well and what's not so going well. And I mean, if you think about it, sustainability is a topic that we should be working on together, not hiding from each other what we are doing. Because, if everyone focuses on sustainability, we will be in a much better place, in the future.
And what is your standpoint in putting the compensation fee as a compulsory fee with every ticket purchase? Because many airlines are leaving this to the decision of the passenger to do it voluntary. Is it too strict, or would it be counterproductive? What's your perspective?
Yeah, so for example, we offer our passengers to compensate their flights at Play. And we do it we offer many types of carbon credits, and I am actually really proud of being able to offer that to our customers. Those are really good carbon credits that we are offering our passengers, and it varies in price. So price sensitive customers or passengers can buy cheaper than more expensive ones, and vice versa. So I think in the near-term future, I'm just talking about, from my point of view, that we will see more airlines putting a cost on top of the ticket price, which is just connected to the compensation, or to the adding SAF to the. So, for example, when you're, I just recently saw it that when you're flying with SAS, you can choose to add sustainable aviation fuel. So it's kind of, maybe they're not having sustainable aviation fuel on the aircraft when you're flying, but it's almost like buying carbon credits and compensating for your flight. You are investing in the production. You're putting your money, investing in that, in this production. So I think we will see something like that, increase by airlines, that they are increasing the price ticket and explaining it with, we are compensating your flight, we are investing more in SAF. So I think we will see that.
There's a question from Psyche Sheng. She wanted to know whether Place has an advantage or challenges being a low-cost airline approaching sustainability.
I think it's, like I said earlier, of course, being a low-cost airline, we are focusing on low cost. Every decision that we make, we need to remember that we are a low-cost airline. So of course, sometimes it will create a struggle in implementing sustainability goals, if it means that we need to invest in for example, SAF or something like that. But I also believe that this is just the way of doing business today, and being a competitive low-cost airline that focuses on sustainability. So you can have a low-cost airline, but you can also have a low-cost airline that has really clear sustainability goals, and that we can prove to our customers that we are setting clear goals, and our passengers then, or customers then, decide, okay, which low-cost airline am I going to fly with?
Interesting that we have this low-cost topic here, because in the first session today of the air show, Javed Malik from Aviation was saying it's not low cost, it's low fare, because the cost of a low-cost airline is also pretty irrelevant. And when I'm considering also the cost of employees in Iceland, and also the cost of a brand new A320 compared to an used one, so that's why I think there's maybe a misconception of low cost, but that's another topic. So Stefan is asking, what do you think is the hurdle why way too many air travelers want to behave green but do not participate in any kind of offsetting, like SAF purchase, reforesting initiatives, and so on?
I think there's a few things that can explain it. This is still in an early stage, compensating your flight. It's a matter of changing people's mindset, that when they're flying, they think also about, okay, yes, I need to compensate my flight. Second is, many of the projects, those carbon projects, carbon credits that also we are offering, and many other airlines or companies are offering, are projects are maybe, far away from the passenger. I am located in, for example, in Iceland, and I am buying carbon credits for a project that is located somewhere in Asia or Africa, where I've never been to, so it's like it's too far away for some people. And then the third part is that many people don't understand the technology behind the carbon credits and the compensate, how it works. And if you don't understand something, you don't trust it. So I think it's like, we need a different type of, we need to, evolve our mindset. We need to, change our mindset, and we need to think about further away than just in our, tiny little scope wherever we are located, especially in the North America or Western Europe, and relate to those, places. And then again, we need to give us time to understand the technology and understand and trust that this is a reliable way of compensating emissions from our travel. And it will happen. It will happen. It only takes time, And also I think it's really important that, for example, Play and other airlines give their passengers and everyone that wants to understand better understanding and insights about this. What does it really mean? And write it in words that people understand. Try to not have it as technical as it is.
Usually, airline passengers are always proudly showing their loyalty status. They are also showing that they are, first class, business class travelers, and so on. I think some airlines are considering to give another badge to customers who were willing to compensate or to pay for environmental fees, which is then potentially putting some pressure on the other who are not that green. What is your perspective on that? Is this the way forward to really make transparent at the gate who is flying greener or is at least compensating?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Because then you might make people feel guilty if they just don't have, money to invest to add the carbon credits to the price of the ticket. So we are kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way of have it so visually. I think it's something that you just need to decide by yourself. Like, how do I feel about my travels? How do I feel about my lifestyle? What am I contributing?
That might change also the passenger complement. So you have the polluters at the end, and then you have the greenwashers in the middle, and the real environmentalists maybe in the first cabin. No, thank you very much, Rakel. We are at the end of the session. It was fantastic. You put a lot of effort into this, and I can also feel the passion. And I remember when we were talking in Reykjavik about it, I see already an evolution. So I think you have already kerosene in your blood. Of course, it's a sustainable aviation fuel. So it's already environmental friendly kerosene. And so your colleagues might be correct that you are not going to go out of this industry anymore, because I think people like you with the passion and fresh energy are very inspiring for the aviation industry.
Thank you so much, Daniel. And thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. I have at least really enjoyed it, and thank you for all those questions. I really appreciate it. And if you can find me on LinkedIn, and so please do not hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the good news is we have very soon a so-called no topic session. So we have asked all the 664 members in our LinkedIn group, which would be a good date in the week of 7th June. And there were several slots to be selected, and the majority selected 7th June at 1400 UTC, which is 4:00 p.m. Central European time or 10 a.m. Eastern time. So it's really a session where we have no topic at all. Everybody can join. And everybody can just listen or talk and get to know each other from Ladies Beyond Flying. And thank you again for joining us. I hope the audience could learn a lot about environmental initiatives in the aviation industry and a lot about Play. And I like very much the crew member uniforms. Maybe I will ask you whether I can get one, because I think I can also use it for playing golf. At least the trousers look pretty much, I would be very stylish on the golf course if I may. So let's talk about it. Thank you very much, and please stay healthy and safe.
Cheers, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.